Hello, and can I apologise for thinking the next race was Canada, when in fact we're at the Nurburgring for the European Grand Prix. Scene of Nico Rosberg's good drive from last season. Q1 proved that Dodgem's non-qualifying in Monaco was not a one-off, as they failed to qualify again. AJ Mitchell also make it through. Andy Racing and SF1 failed to make it through yet again. And here's Q2, which takes place on a wet but drying track, as we look at Scott's speed on a flying lap, 3 minutes into the session. As he rounds the final corner, to inevitably go fastest, as he's the only one that's set a time at the moment, and Heidfeld straight away goes quickest. And Rosberg goes half a second quicker. After a good controlling drive at Monaco, there's Hamilton, who crashed out of Monaco, and here's Zonta, 6/10 quicker. Already the track is getting faster by each passing car. Here's Tonio Liuzzi, who made it into the points at Monaco. Still having a difficult season, as he's been generally off the pace compared to his teammate Jenson Button. Liuzzi is fastest through the second sector at the moment. Can he beat Ricardo Zonta's time? Yes, he can, by 1/100th of a second. Sebastian Vettel, who dominated the Monaco race, winning by an entire lap, goes quickest by 1/10 of a second as we're 15 minutes into the session. Jenson Button. He also crashed out and threw away a good result in Monaco after not even touching the brakes into the turn 2 Massenet curve. And here's Jarno Trulli, who in the last race retired with reliability problems, and look at that, he's a second quicker already. This track is getting quicker. It's going to be last man over the line who sets the best lap in all odds. Trulli, a 3-time champion of course, winning his first season with MRD, then winning it a year later for Guy Racing before that was in 99 and 2000, before FJR took him on board for 2004 and won the championship. There's Rosberg on a quick lap. He's trying to beat Jarno Trulli's time, and he's just under 1/10 up after the second sector. Just behind Rosberg is an MRD. I think the track's still a bit too wet for the dry tyres. And Rosberg goes second. Lost quite a bit of time in the last sector. And Webber goes fastest. But now Raikkonen goes fastest. It's all kicking off. Times are getting quicker. And here's Vettel on a lap now. Been impressive in his second season, leading the championship by quite a margin, and over the line 7/10 quicker. That's a very good effort from Sebastian. And Alonso, who's had it difficult recently, his qualifying performances have not been that great. Neither has his teammates, as he tries to beat Kubica's fastest lap. And he does so 1.4 seconds faster. That is a quick lap on the drying track. Here's Jenson Button following the dry lines like a tram. He's marginally quicker than Alonso on this lap as they approach the slightly wetter part of the track. Rounds the final corner, still spray kicking off at the back of the car, but he goes second, 1/10 off Fernando. Speed across the line, goes 7th at 2.4 seconds down. Off the top man. Bruni crosses the line. Only 16th, that's a bad effort. And Webber goes 2nd again. Lewis Hamilton across the line, goes fastest. We're not even halfway through the session yet. Glock 1/10 down on Lewis Hamilton's time. But he is on the qualifying tyres. This slightly softer compound will prove quite handy on this damp part of the track. Across the line he goes fastest by a 10th. Rosberg 6/10 up on Glock after the first 2 sectors, but he's being held up by Dark Wolf there. The Dark Wolf pits though, so Rosberg is free to charge for the line at this final corner. Crosses the line, 1.1 seconds, he still improves. He was half a second quicker than Glock despite being held up by the Dark Wolf. Now Raikkonen, he's also being held up on his hot lap. Although you could argue that the slipstream will give him an advantage as he rounds the final chicane and the final long right-hander. The car in front, it's a Pedersen, but he's not pitting. Raikkonen crosses the line. Now Vettel goes fastest. Halfway through the session now, Zonta 2nd quickest. Wirtz for Mitchell. Wirtz scored Mitchell's first points of the season last time out with an 8th place, and he goes 6th. Great effort from Alexander Wirtz, the Austrian driver, who has been with Mitchell since 2003. The other Mitchell now of Sebastian Buemi. See what he can do. 14th, 3.6 seconds down. Pantano crossing the line 3rd, 6/10 down on Vettel's time. Robert Kubica for Guy Racing. Team boss Guillaume Kramer wrote an article recently. He goes under the pseudonym of the Insightful Madman, and his latest article is basically a sum up. Alonso goes 2nd. Good effort from the Pedersen driver as Jenson Button begins to cross the line at the end of his lap. 4th. As I was saying, Guy Kramer wrote an article under the pseudonym of Insightful Madman. And he's also just extended Christian Klean's contract until next season. As we see the starting grid, Vettel on pole from Alonso, Zonta, good effort from the Brazilian to out-qualify his teammate again. Button 4th, ahead of Pantano, Raikkonen. There's Klean in 7th, ahead of Rosberg in 8th. Kubica and Wirtz complete the top 10. Hamilton, a disappointing 12th, couldn't get a lap together on the progressively drying track. Another disappointment is the two ex-elites, if you think about their earlier qualifying performances in the last 2 races. And Bruni, once again at the back. And cloudy skies for the race as we go for the Nurburgring. Vettel's had an awesome start. Alonso did not get a good launch there. Zonta straight away moves into 2nd. And oh my word, there's a massive shunt at the back. It looked like a Pedersen involved there. Yarni was in the air. We'll have to see what happened again, but yeah, it was Yarni that was in the air, as we see as Shannon go through. We can see what happened to Yarni. And there was a collision, there was a tornado, and Yarni goes flying. Loses both his front wheels. And I think it was Liuzzi that moved back across into the path of Mark Webber. Their two collided, causing a traffic jam effect, and then Jarno ran into the back of the AJ. Yes, that's right. It was Heidfeld who ran in, or Karthikeyan that ran into the back of Webber, and Excelite's involved in there as well. Here's the overhead shot on Webber, and yeah, it was Liuzzi that cut across on him, and that just caused a chain reaction, and it looked like an Excelite out of the race as well. Zonta's under pressure from Alonso for second place. We saw Alonso got a terrible launch. Rosberg's had a good start from 8th to move into 5th. As we look at Klein, and it looked like Alonso was going to have a go at Zonta there. And in fact, Pantano's just taken 3rd from Alonso, so it looked like Alonso got held up there behind the FJR driver. As Alonso didn't like that, and now he's retaken Pantano for 3rd place. Now he's going to set his sights back on Zonta as we see Button overtaking Rosberg into the Dunlop hairpin for 5th place, as Buemi pits from damage from the first straight incident. And Hamilton's just having a look at Klein into that turn there, the penultimate turn before the back straight. And it's getting very cloudy out there. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw rain. And Pantano's going to retake 3rd from Alonso. This is a great scrap, as Rosberg retakes Button for 5th, and that almost looked like a collision there, but Hamilton's finally taken 7th place. And this battle's still continuing. Alonso mirroring his move on Pantano into turn 3. After the huge shunt, it doesn't look like there'll be a red flag, so the race will continue as Rosberg is still under pressure from Jenson Button, as Vettel leads by 4.1 seconds on lap 3 from Zonta, Pantano, and Schakenbeck's going to run wide. Hamilton's going to spin! Lewis Hamilton spins at turn 1. It looks like he's beached it there. Here it is from on board Klein, and small lock up there, and very nearly got collected by the spinning Schakenbeck driver. As we look at the battling AJs, Heidfeld on Karthikeyan, and Nick Heidfeld takes that position away. It has been Nick Heidfeld's efforts that have been getting AJ into the race, because he's been pre-qualifying with the new tyres very well, as Jenson Button retakes Rosberg for 5th place. And I think it's starting to rain, and Raikkonen has hit Hamilton. Or is that Bruni? It hits Schakenbeck and goes flying into the air, lands, and then lands with no wheels on his wagon. Zonta's been taken for 2nd place by Alonso. As the rain begins to fall down, it looks like Alonso has the advantage in the track that's getting more wet. Marc Genet in 8th, challenging Rosberg for 7th. Both FJRs dropping back. And Lewis Hamilton is still in the race. I think it was him that collided with Raikkonen, as he comes up behind Wirtz for 12th place. And I think Rosberg's just lost another position to Jarno Trulli. Trulli's had a storming race so far, from 20th on the grid to move up into the points. And Hamilton overtakes the Mitchell of Wirtz. Vettel extends his lead, and this is how Jarno Trulli did it, I presume, into turn, I think it's turn 8. Nice and clean as spray begins to come off the back of the cars. The track is definitely getting wetter as Hamilton takes Glock for 11th place. And Alonso's catching Vettel, I think. He's just trimmed the lead down to 8.4. As Zonta is dropping back into the clutches of Pantano. Hamilton's on the charge after his earlier spin. It's coming up behind Robert Kubica. The spray's getting bigger and visibility is going to be a problem. Into turn 8. Up the inside, and Hamilton takes 10th as he closes in on Rosberg. Now pit stops are underway, presumably for wet tyres, and Hamilton's taken 5th from Rosberg. And Trulli's up to 4th. And here we are on board with Webber challenging the Mitchell for 13th, that'll be Wirtz. And here's the other tornado of Pantano. He's going to understeer off the track and he's going to spin into the path of Clean, and both drivers are out of the race as Webber goes off the track. So both tornadoes having understeering moments into turn 1 as it stopped raining now on lap 19, and we've got a spin for Shake and Bake. It was Bruni. I think he was having a go at someone there. And Alonso in 2nd place. He's going to understeer off the track at turn 1. Spins right on the racing line. And nice little nudge there from the Mitchell. And Liuzzi goes through and Alonso rejoins without losing 2nd position. Nick Heidfeld in 14th. The track's getting drier. And he's... that is slow understeer. There's not a worse feeling than chronic understeer. And off the track goes an ex-elite. It's Jarno Trulli. Hamilton moves up to 6th, and it looked like Trulli understeered off, and Jenson Button's out of the race. It looked like Trulli had understeered off at turn 4, but he's back in the race, taking 6th off the retiring Button. Webber in 14th moves up to 13th now, passing Nick Heidfeld. Just looked like he got on the curb there and lost a bit of traction. This is a battle for 4th place now, with Genet coming under pressure from the charging Hamilton as Vettel leads on lap 33. Bruni's in the pits, and so's Vettel. Race leader pits. So does Kubica. And Buemi, they're all coming in now. Alonso pits as well. And he's got a mechanical problem. It says on his steering wheel that his throttle is cutting out a bit. Meanwhile, we've got Lewis Hamilton up to 3rd place. Oh, he's pulling off. He's got a mechanical problem. That's disappointing for Shake and Bake. Transmission failure we saw there, and Zonta now in 2nd under pressure from Alonso. As it's getting wetter by the looks of it, the rain's coming back down. Vettel's dominating the race at the front. As we look at Jarno Trulli in 5th place, he's pulling off as well. More reliability problems for Ex-Elite. Oh, that's a shame for Trulli, he was running so well. It's his suspension problem. You see the car bouncing over the gravel. Here's Sebastian Vettel in the lead, he spins! Vettel spins from the lead. Struggling a bit with the wet track, and he's pulling off! No, he's not. Sorry, my bad. Vettel just rejoins there. Webber now in 9th, challenging Bruni in the points. Gianmaria Bruni in the points at 8th place at the moment. I think the rain's stopped at the moment, but Webber's through up into 8th place. And he's not done. He's a lap. This is behind Vettel, who's a lap ahead. Vettel laps Kubica. Can Webber take advantage? He had a look then, but no room there. Webber had so much speed in the slipstream there. His visibility is still pretty bad. You just sense that Webber is going to have a look into the next corner. Kubica shuts the door. He's defending very hard. Into the S-curves. Look at that, brave move from Webber. Up into 7th place. And now Webber's challenging Rosberg for 6th place. He had a look into that, the flat out right-hander, but no chance there. But Webber's definitely got the faster car. He's made 5 stops apparently. Not sure how that's happened. I think one of the... my guess is that he must have come in twice in consecutive laps because he might have changed too early on dry tyres. That might explain the 5 stops. But even so, he's moved up past Rosberg into 6th place. As we see Vettel on his final lap. He's pretty much controlled this race from pole position. He's scared being the spin at the chicane, but even so, Vettel is going to take his 3rd win of the season. Crossing the line for Dark Wolf, win number 3. As we see a battling Mitchell and Shannon there. Vettel won from Alonso, Zonta's 2nd podium of the season. And great result for Dark Wolf, Genet up in 4th, Klein 5th, Webber 6th, Rosberg 7th and Kubica 8th. Vettel extends his championship lead to 34 points, he's dominating now. Hamilton, Kubica and Rosberg all tied together for 2nd place as Alonso begins to close in on 5th place. Dark Wolf's Constructors' Championship lead just as emphatic, 30 points ahead of FJR and a further 1 ahead of Geet Racing. We're definitely in Canada for the next race and we'll see you there.